And what is up, everybody? Phil Stiefel here from Trending in the AM with the 2022 Fantasy Football Quarterback Top 10 list of mine. Make sure you do me a favor, like this video, and hit subscribe. And what we'll be doing this year, instead of doing one fantasy football show a week, I'm going to be doing different videos throughout the week, every week, all year long. Fantasy football, redraft, DFS on DraftKings, all different kinds of content and information. So again, very important you like and hit subscribe. If you follow me on Twitter at Beard and Knowledge, then you'll be able to ask me any of your fantasy football questions. My DMs are always open for fantasy football content. So today, we're going to do the top 10 quarterbacks and when and where you should draft them, who you should focus in on, some sleepers, some different things. A short video. Make sure you tune into Trending in the AM every single Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m., where we talk about all different things. We'll be doing fantasy football talk there as well. But let's not waste any time. I told you these are going to be shorter videos, so let's dive right in to my top 10 fantasy quarterbacks. I'm going to be flipping from screen to screen here, so hopefully this all works out and all that kind of stuff. So before we get to the top 10, I want to give you my honorable mentions because there's a couple names in here that are intriguing in my opinion. Starting at the bottom, 15, Kirk Cousins. If you want to take a strategy like me and draft running backs early, in your redraft drafts, and if things don't fall the way you want, you can never go wrong with Kirk Cousins. Steady as they go as a fantasy football quarterback. I mean, hell, last year I think he was ninth in the league in passing yards, 4,200 yards, 33 touchdowns, and only 7 interceptions. That's not what you think you get from Kirk Cousins. So, Kirk Cousins, you could do much worse than Kirk Cousins if you draft him. Or if you draft two guys or you take a risk on an injury guy, Kirk Cousins is a great backup to have. Matthew Stafford, 14, Super Bowl, win, can Cooper Cup do it again? We'll see. Tua Tagovailoa is going to be extremely underrated in a lot of your drafts. You can get him and say Kirk Cousins later in your draft, you win, especially if you get really good running backs and wide receivers and things like that, guys to stack with them. I mean, bringing Tyreek Hill over to Miami, Mike Gesicki, one more year, Jalen Waddle, 100 receptions last year. Tua is going to have a really good season. I'm putting Russell Wilson at number 12 in the honorable mention section because honestly, I don't buy the Denver Broncos as a good team. Everybody loves the Denver Broncos, but that's going to be one hard division. And we haven't really seen Jerry Jeudy, Corley Sutton, and all those wide receivers and weapons with a quarterback yet. But we don't know if they're any good. So I think people are overvaluing Russell. I think there's a lot of risk there. Kyler Murray, I don't buy the Kyler Murray hype train. No DeAndre Hopkins for the first couple of weeks of the season, 4 or 5 weeks. Kyler Murray, I just don't see it. I don't buy him as a quarterback. It might be. I'm willing to die on the Kyler Murray is not in my top 10, hill this year. We'll see what happens. We will. So let's get into my real top 10. They are my 11 through 15, my honorable mentions, guys just outside of the top 10. So number 10 on my list is Tom Brady, the GOAT. I mean, what's else to call him other than the GOAT? He's 44 years old. Chris Godwin's going to miss time with his injury. No Gronkowski. When will Father Time catch up with Tom Brady? I mean, Tom Brady obviously led the league in passing last year, 5,300 yards plus, 43 touchdowns, only 12 interceptions. Dude, the guy's eventually got to slow down. Maybe this is the year. I'm not willing to take a chance on Tom Brady early in the draft. Later in the draft, maybe. But again, Tom Brady, you better get a backup option just in case because 44 years old, at some point, he's not hitting a slow decline. He's just going to hit a brick wall at some point. When that is, I don't know. Whether it's this year, whether it's next year, who knows? I don't even know if he wants to play this year. Once Gronkowski retired, he kind of already retired once and came. I don't know. The old Bruce Arians thing. I don't know about Tom Brady this year. I'm keeping him at just on the back end of the top 10 there. Number 9. And I struggled with this one because I wanted to be a bold person and put him in my top 5 even. Derek Carr to me is the most underrated fantasy football quarterback out there. And you just added Devontae Adams, the number 1 fantasy wide receiver. We'll do fantasy wide receiver video later on. So that's why it's important to hit subscribe, right down here or over here, wherever it is on the screen, hit that subscribe button. Derek Carr, most underrated fantasy football player. Do you guys know that Derek Carr last year almost threw for 5,000 yards? He only had 23 touchdowns, but he was throwing to Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller sometimes. He's throwing in Devontae Adams. That 23 touchdowns is going to be over 30 this year. He's going to have 5,000 yards and 30 touchdowns, guaranteed. Why I didn't put him higher? I'm second guessing myself now as I'm recording this. I probably should have put him higher. Higher than Aaron Rodgers? Probably the second GOAT out of who's still active in quarterbacks, he lost Devontae Adams. I probably should have flip-flopped them. Now that I'm thinking through this and talking live right now, I should have probably put Derek Carr 8 and Aaron Rodgers 9. Lost Adams, still one of the best. And the one thing with Aaron Rodgers, I'm not sold at their division. Some people are saying the Vikings are going to be a really good team this year. The Bears up and coming. I do like what the Lions are doing up and coming. But you get guaranteed 4,100 to 4,300 yards at least with Aaron Rodgers, and you're going to get 30 to 40 touchdowns. Now, where those touchdowns are going to come from, I'm not sure. But I have faith that Aaron Rodgers is going to do it. He's number 8 on my list. Number 7, the hated Dallas Cowboys quarterback, Dak Prescott. He could easily be a top 5 quarterback in 2022. We're going to see if CeeDee Lamb's development is good enough to take over for Mark Cooper as the number 1 guy. Michael Gallup's coming back from injury. Is he going to be good enough? What's going to happen with Ezekiel Elliott and his running? Will he be better this year? Is he going to continue his decline? Dak Prescott, he's an intriguing guy to me. I just don't know who Dak Prescott is. I love the talent that Dak Prescott brings to the table, especially in fantasy football. Obviously, I'm an Eagles fan. I hate the Cowboys. But I like Dak Prescott, the person, as well. But there's just something missing. Maybe that killer, I tell you, when he came out in the draft, I compared him to a stronger, more physical Donovan McNabb. Maybe he really is a lot like Donovan McNabb and just missing that killer instinct, win the big game kind of player. But he still puts up a hell of a lot of stats. So Dak Prescott, number 7 on my list. Number 6 is division rival, the Eagles, Jalen Hurts. I didn't even put it on here because it just came out today. Somebody tweeted today. He's the first quarterback ever in their first 20 starts to have over 4,000 yards passing and over 1,000 yards rushing in their first 20 starts. He could surpass all those numbers this year in 17 games if he plays a full 17. Everybody forgets last year, he was hampered by an ankle injury. He missed a game late in the year, was hampered later in the year, the rest of the games in the year. That hurt him. It hurt his rushing ability, hurt his throwing ability. You're going to get 4,200 yards from Jalen Hurts this year between passing and rushing. 25, 30 combined touchdowns probably. He could, fantasy football-wise. I am not saying overall-wise, but fantasy football-wise, could end up a top 3 fantasy football quarterback this year. And you added A.J. Brown to the equation. You got the best offensive line in football. Jalen Hurts, really, really strong candidate for a top 3 quarterback this year. Number 5, Joe Burrow, the runner-up in the Super Bowl this year. How will 2022 be? First off, I want to bring up Joe Burrow's numbers from last year. Yeah, I drafted him with my first pick in the Scott Fish Bowl this year. I had the 8th pick in the draft. And Scott Fish Bowl is a charity tournament, and they featured quarterbacks heavily. So you need quarterbacks early, unlike in regular redrafts. Like, you're watching this video to prep for your redraft. Quarterbacks to me are not the first position you take. You take running back first round, running back second round, maybe even running back third round, depending on how things shake out and how your league is set up. Quarterbacks is like the 5th thing on my mind when I'm doing a redraft. In Scott Fish Bowl, quarterbacks are heavily, valued. I took 70% completion last year, 4,600 yards, 34 touchdowns. How will he follow that up? And he was coming off an ACL tear. Early in the year last year, he had some slower games. That's another quarterback right there. I would not be surprised if Joe Burrow throws for 5,000 yards this year. He throws for 35 touchdowns for 5,000 yards. Again, he's a guy that might crack the top 3. It's going to be really interesting to see at the end of the year how these rankings shape up. Lamar Jackson, he is the quintessential running fantasy football quarterback. He should end up as the number 1 fantasy quarterback. Will he play the whole year? That's the question mark. And the fact that his best weapon, his second best weapon, his best weapon is Mark Andrews, obviously. Probably the second best tight end. Tight end's another video. We're going to be recording that shortly, and it'll be uploaded, this day. I don't even know when this is going to be airing and when you're going to be watching it, but it's here. Again, subscribe to the DSM Media YouTube page down below there. Mark Andrews, number 1. Number 2 was Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown. He's gone to Arizona. Who's his number 1 passing option? Rashad Bateman. I love Rashad Bateman in DFS purposes, depending on matchups. But Lamar Jackson's going to have to do it all himself. I don't know if he could do it. I don't know if Mark Andrews and Rashad Bateman's enough. That's why he's at 4. I thought about putting him 2, and then when I saw his weapons and what he was going to be dealing with this year, really, really tough to put him any higher than 4. Number 3, Justin Herbert. Could easily be number 1 at the end of the season, in my opinion. He's going to throw for 5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns. There's no doubt. If you're going to, and here's the thing, Justin Herbert, he threw for 5,000 yards, just over it last year, 38 touchdowns. It could be 40 touchdowns or more. If you can get Justin Herbert, make sure you get Keenan Allen or Mike Williams as well. You want to have that stack. The offense is going to be booming. They're probably in LA going to end up with the number one offense in football in 2022. So Justin Herbert, absolutely love him. Number two, Patrick Mahomes. He is still the best quarterback in the NFL right now. I almost put him number one, but I'm going on potential and hopeful potential with number one. I'm sure you can guess who's number one. But he's going to be. I say this in basketball about the Lakers when LeBron. I was never going to bet against LeBron and the Lakers. Somebody actually beat them and kept them out of the playoffs. Well, that happened now. Patrick Mahomes, until he doesn't play in a championship game, you can't bet against the guy. I know he lost Tyreek Hill. Maybe Juju Smith Schuster will pick up some of the slack. Hardman, Pringle, whoever else. Travis Kelce is going to be. He's already tight end one. He's going to be tight end one on steroids this year. He's going to see so many targets, Travis Kelce this year. But until he's proven otherwise, he's in my mind he's the best quarterback in the league. Fantasy football purposes, until proven otherwise, he's still going to be my number two. And of course, the guy that's probably the favorite, the prohibitive favorite to be the MVP this year, Josh Allen in Buffalo. He has all the tools and weapons to be the best quarterback. Will he put it all together? And not? I just don't know. I mean, he's been pretty damn close to putting it together for a couple of years now. He was the prohibitive favorite for MVP last year. Just didn't put it all together, 100%. Josh Allen should be the first quarterback off the board in every one of your drafts. Now I say that, but let me just remind you, you don't take quarterbacks in your redrafts early. I know some people do it. Unless you have some funky rules or two quarterbacks start kind of a league, do not take the quarterback with your first pick. There's plenty of guys there in that 8, 9, 10 range that you can get in the fourth round, the fifth round. Hell, you can wait and take Tua and Kirk Cousins and stack those two guys and play matchups all year long. Do not draft your quarterback. The people that draft like Josh Allen fourth overall or Patrick Mahomes fifth overall, it breaks my heart. It makes my job easier, but it breaks my heart. And you can't draft Sugar St. Falcon. I see him sitting over my shoulder right there. He cost everybody too much money at the Sugar Bowl, so you cannot draft Sugar St. Falcon. So that is my top 10 list. This year, actually, it was the top 15 if you count my honorable mention. That was my top 10 quarterbacks for the 2022 year for redraft fantasy football purposes. This doesn't count dynasty leagues. I'm not really too much into dynasty leagues. But again, my name is Phil Stiefel. Shoot me a message on Twitter at Beard of Knowledge, or give me your thoughts on this video on Twitter at Beard of Knowledge. I'd love to hear your thoughts on my rankings and my thoughts on the order that they should get drafted off the board. And again, you like this video, you hit subscribe, and then hey, turn on notifications because there's going to be a running back video coming shortly. There's going to be a wide receiver video coming shortly. Tight end video coming shortly. You're not going to want to miss any of it. It's the best information you get to prepare for your 2022 fantasy football game. Yo, guys, I'm Phil Stiefel again at Beard of Knowledge on Twitter, DSM Media. Make sure you check me out every single morning, trending in the AM, 8:30, every single morning. We hope to see you there. And hey, hope you have a great day, man. And go Birds!